Hey everyone, thanks for being tuned in to KPOV 88.9 FM, your high desert community radio in Bend, Oregon. I hope you're having a good day. This is Stacie Dread, Galactic Ambassador in the cosmic community, our astrology program here Tuesdays 4:30 to 5 p.m., where I discuss the week's planetary and lunar influences, how we may be able to use these energies and live within these cycles to be in harmony with the universe and to create a more benevolent life for all. Thank you so much for making space and time in your day today to receive this message, or if you are hearing it on the archive, or if you need to access the archive to turn other people onto this program, this message today. Maybe you need to go back and replay it a couple more times this week to hear it better for yourself. So you can get that on the kpov.org website. Just search for the Cosmic Community and you will find last week's archive there. So it is an interesting week. It's another big week in astrology. You know, it never stops. The sun and the moon, they just keep on going through their rotations, and here we are in the week of today, coming in July 12th from the west coast of the United States. So if you're tuned in from somewhere else, you'll need to do a little bit of math to make sure that you've got your events accurately placed during your week. But this week really brings us the energy of the second USA Pluto return. I talked a little bit about this at the beginning of the year. People have their own astrological birth charts that are unique to the moment that we were born, when we came into this earth, came earthside, as people like to say. We carry with us the astrological birth chart, the snapshot of that moment. That is an influential energy and becomes a map for us to use to find ourselves and to dive deeper into what these messages mean for us. Well, events and even countries can have their own astrological birth charts, natal charts for the moment that they were born. And so the USA was, we just celebrated our independence last week. So July 4th, 1776, that would have been our birth moment. And so we are actually now 246 years later now in our Pluto return, which means that Pluto is now coming back to the exact same place that it was in 1776 on July 4th. So what does this mean? Well, it means that it affects everybody in the United States because, the country and the things that we're going through are going to be definitely affected by this. So the United States has their Pluto, our Pluto for the U.S. is at, 27 Capricorn, 27 and a half Capricorn. And so we have Pluto in a retrograde in Capricorn, and this is like some serious energy. We've been talking a lot about Pluto. And this Plutonian energy brings with it the death and rebirth phase. And so Pluto always represents, when we have interactions in the sky with Pluto, it's going to represent a phase where something needs to be put to death. Something needs to be ended. We are coming to the end of a cycle, and it's no longer going to work this way. We need to make changes, and these changes are going to be for good, because Pluto makes changes for good. And so with this USA Pluto return, it was actually exact on July 11th, 2022, and we are going to see a third and final return to this same degree point in February, I believe. So we're not done with whatever this cycle is. We had our first first hit of the Pluto return in January. Now we're having the second one here in July and the third one in February. So this is an ongoing story. During a retrograde cycle, it always is, you develop the story over time. You get more pieces, more information, more pieces to the puzzle, and, hopefully by the end of it, you have something that sort of makes sense. So the coloring for the entire year has been the USA Pluto return, if you live in the USA, knowing that it's going to be one of those years where there's just going to be a lot of endings. There's going to be a lot of things being totally outworn, and there's going to be a lot of things being put to death for what feels like, anyways, a final time, right? So we have this week also a super full moon in Capricorn. That is happening on July 13th at, on the West Coast, about 10:40, let's see, 11:40 a.m. on Wednesday, July 13th is our super full moon in Capricorn. And this is happening at 21 degrees of Capricorn, very close, within a 10-degree orb. It's about 7 degrees away from this Pluto that we were just discussing. So we have a big super full moon this week on the same week that we have this Pluto highlighted. Is it a coincidence? Absolutely not. Because we are now being offered new information. And when there's a full moon, the moon is at 21 of Capricorn, I said, and the sun is at directly opposite in the zodiac, 21 of Cancer. The Capricorn Cancer axis is always a very interesting one. It's always a very motivated one. It's very serious. Capricorn and Cancer energies, to me anyways, are some of the more serious energies in the zodiac, so we're really taking these messages seriously right now with so much energy in Cancer and Capricorn. We also have Mercury only 4.5 degrees away from the sun in direct opposition to the moon and Pluto in Capricorn. So there are some deep messages coming up from the underworld. Anytime that you have Mercury in play, we are receiving messages. The Mercury was, in the mythology, the messenger of the gods. And so when these planets would go retrograde, like Mercury goes retrograde more often than any other planet because it's the fastest one around the zodiac, the closest one into the sun. So it moves fast and it retrogrades a lot, 3 to 4 times a year. So Mercury always going into these retrogrades, going into these deep, dark places, going into the underworld to bring up these messages for us, to bring us more in touch, to make these connections, to create these synapses. Mercury and the sun together are always big moments. These are always big combustive moments. They're big energies. They like to communicate and express. And we are in the sign of Cancer. And Cancer is a very emotional water sign, but also is a cardinal sign. Cardinal signs are there we go with that motivation. We have that motivation again. We have the ambition to start something new, to make changes, to be okay with taking the first steps on some new project or something that we know intuitively, that we need to make happen, because water signs are the most intuitive of all. And so we have Mercury and the sun in the sign of Cancer right now. We are just in the realm of really deep intuitive message retrieval So, other things that are happening, other aspects within this full moon, I'll get to here in a moment. This is Stacie Dread, Galactic Ambassador in the cosmic community. That's our program here where I chat about the astrology. If you have any questions about the program or any comments for me, you can always send me an email at thecosmiccommunity@kpov.org. So with that water energy, I'm just needing more water than usual. And you can always follow me on Facebook, too, the Cosmic Community page. And so we have this super full moon in Capricorn this week. Other Capricornian themes that may be coming up for you. Capricorn pretty much rules the 10th house. So, kind of an overall energy is, making sure that we are leaving our mark on society. Capricorn is all about the legacy that we leave. What are people going to remember us for? How are we going to make sure that we've really done and taken care of like this thing that's really important to us, and we're going to leave it for everybody else's greater good? That's Capricorn right there. And the moon and Pluto together in this super full moon. The moon is emotion. The moon reminds us how we feel about everything that it comes in contact with. So we have the moon coming into contact with a very serious, ambitious, ready to go Capricorn, which is like a little more of a go-getter energy than the moon is really used to. So we might be feeling a little adverse. There might be some tears. We got Cancer. We got the watery energy. The moon is ruled by Cancer. And so we always follow the moon, and we're very affected by what the moon is doing during Cancer season, just in general. So we could be having some strong feelings about what is coming to death in our life as the moon makes its way over Pluto retrograde in Capricorn. We also have Saturn and Neptune both retrograde. Saturn at 24 of Aquarius and Neptune at 25 of Pisces. And these are just some more energies at around that 25 degree point. We're working within these same points. The moon at 21, 22, Pluto at 27. And so we also have some of these retrograde vibes. This retrograded Saturn is asking us like some serious questions. This is the time when Saturn goes back in time to retrograde in the retrograde, and we kind of overlook, review some things that we've done in the past regarding things we've been responsible for, or anything that we should have taken more seriously, back then. But we're kind of looking at it now and going, well, geez, I could have been a little more serious about that. And this retrograded Neptune is creating a little bit of dreamy state around this. There's a little bit of murkiness here. We're not quite understanding. It's feeling a little elusive, a little deceptive. It's not quite there. And so we're having a hard time, kind of staying in the moment right now. Things are sort of, with this retrograded Saturn, we're really looking to the past, and Saturn rules Capricorn. So, working with this super full moon. And by the way, it's the second of 3 super full moons that we're having. Last month, we had a super full moon in Sagittarius, this month in Capricorn, and next month in Aquarius. And so we're not done with this little 3-month super full moon cycle, and that's when the moon is the closest to the Earth in its orbit. And so, more of these, this is when you see the earth events. This is where you see the high tides, the crazy high tides that nobody sees ever. The super full moons, they bring them in. Full moons, the moon in general, affects everything water oriented. Somebody actually, my buddy on my Monday night program, Tristan, thanks for holding it down last night, as I needed a little more time to rest last night. So Jack and Tristan had their little boy show last night, but he was asking me, like, what is the super full moon? What does that mean in terms of the astrology? And I love that. That's bringing like the real world and putting it into the astrology. Well, the moon affects the oceans and the tides, and so we are 70% water. The water inside of us is affected. The water inside of here on the whole planet, everything with water energy is affected by the moon, and so these super full moons are making things feel even a little more intense. These Saturnian lessons really coming through and asking us some of these kind of darker, heavier questions right now. And we can work with this. The full moons are all about releasing and letting go and purging. So, we can do this. We can face these shadow areas of ourselves, ask ourselves these questions, and then purge it and let go and say, all right, it is time for me to move on from that once and for all. This is Stacie Dread, Galactic Ambassador in the cosmic community. Very much appreciate you taking a little time to sort of energetically work with what we have going on here within the planetary and lunar influences. So that pretty much covers the full moon. I mean, that pretty much covers. Okay, I could talk about it on and on and on, but those are kind of the main themes that we're working with. One last thing about Capricorn, for all those Capricorn folk out there wondering a little bit more about themselves, Susan, the sea goat is your symbol, is your spirit guide, and is what your mascot is for the sign of Capricorn. And the sea goat is a mythical creature. It's the top end of a goat and the lower end of a sea creature, so like a fin or a fish or a whale or something. And so it is the goat, which can climb to the highest mountains, and it's also the sea creature that can swim to the lowest depths of the sea. So we can do it with this serious Capricorn energy. It's ambitious. It wants to make things happen. Use this really awesome cardinal energy to take some first steps or do some things that have really needed to be done. So the next big energy that is affecting us this week within the skies is a square between Venus and Neptune. And I already mentioned Neptune is retrograde, about 25 degrees of Pisces, and Venus is in a square at 25 degrees of Gemini. Venus is really interesting in Gemini. She is always, faced with a decision. There's always not one but two things in Gemini. So we always have not one but two options. It's either the good or the bad. It's either the one or the other. It's either there's always a decision to be made. And so Venus feels a little pulled in different directions. She has a square with this retrograded Neptune in Pisces. Neptune in Pisces is very strong. Neptune rules the sign of Pisces. Pisces is more of this really strong emotional energy, a watery sign. And so Neptune in Pisces is bringing up a lot of more emotion for us than normal. The square with Venus, though, is an interesting one. This is considered to be one of the most deceptive of all the aspects, because Neptune is indeed the higher energy of Venus. There's kind of the planets. You've got Mercury Venus and Mars. These are the personal planets. And then you have the outer planets, Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto. And they each have their sort of bigger brother or bigger sister. And Venus's bigger sister here, is Neptune. So, they serve each other really well normally, but Neptune is retrograde. So, like I was saying, it's kind of hard to pull together all the pieces here. And Venus is like kind of indecisive in Gemini, and like she does listen to both sides, but has a hard time, coming to a conclusion. And so, there could definitely be some energy of like, the lovers, kind of having some deceptive moments, or like even one person in a relationship. It doesn't even need to be lovers. It can be, friends or business relationships. Somebody leading each other on. Someone leading the other person on. Though this can be very much be happening under this influence. So pay attention to places where you might be susceptible to being sort of disillusioned. This could also be the energy of infatuation, like falling under the spell of somebody or something. It doesn't even have to be romantic love that we're talking about. We can be in love with an idea. We can be in love with a dream, or, just something, a picture on the wall. We could just be in love with it and be so obsessed with it that all we want to do is stare at the picture on the wall, So we could be infatuated and under the influence of something. Right now, we're really reaching for something that is like not really there. It's deceptively available, which it's not really physically going to be able to be done. But we have one last interesting aspect. Venus moving into Cancer this week. I'm just going to say that after she makes this quick square with Neptune here, she's going to be moving into the more feminine sign of Cancer. And so we'll talk about that a little more next week. But we have Uranus in a conjunction with the North Node this week. And this means that we could be getting some all of a sudden awakenings. We could be meeting new people, bringing people into our lives, bringing situations into our lives. We could be having some sudden realizations of which Uranus would represent, and the North Node represents fated interactions, fated things coming into our lives. So this week, man, it feels heavy, it feels deep, it feels fated, but it feels good to be able to purge and to speak what we need to say, and to know that we can trust in ourselves and trust in our guides, and always trust in the universe to be wishing us the very best and the most benevolent life. So I will talk to you next week. Have a super awesome, super full moon in Capricorn. And I wish you an excellent week. Talk to you then. Peace.